Okay, make sure you sit close to the front. This is not the church. We're not passing the collection plate. You don't need to worry about contributions. Everybody kind of forgets to come back to a session, so I expect we'll get some people walking in later. My name is D.C. Young, and I'm supposed to be the moderator here, but it's like we're such a small group, we could get together and have a family home evening, but that's fine. It's my honor to be able to introduce both Steve Jackson and Ray Moseley. Ray Moseley is a PhD working at the University of Florida, and he's a professor of bioethics. We need more bioethics in Washington, I think. He and Steve, who is the CEO of Honor My Decision, are going to discuss this very important addition to the tools that alphas have to work with. I'm going to turn the time over to you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thanks. Well, thanks for coming. We didn't get tremendous large numbers of folks, but I noticed we got the best looking people that were here, so that's all that counts in my book. We got something pretty exciting to talk to you about, and so I really wish we had some more folks here. And we're going to talk about the genesis of how this got together, what this offering is, how you all get it as a free service because of your relationship with the Alpha One Foundation. So let's jump right in. The topic that we're going to discuss today is advanced directives. Advanced directives is the combination of your living will and your surrogate assignment, and how you speak for yourself when you can no longer speak for yourself, should you find yourself incapacitated in a hospital, and where you get to stay in control, where you get to say, here are the things that I want, here are the things that I don't want, okay? So that's the combination of the two. There are problems in this country with advanced directives. There are 4 of them, and in the early work that was done by my associate here, Dr. Moseley, we identified what these were. Number one, not enough people have advanced directives. Every time y'all check into a hospital, does somebody ask you, do you have a living will? I mean, it's, you know, it's within, and a very small portion of the country that should have advanced directives actually do. Okay, the second problem is they're not found. Where's your living will? Well, it's in my safe deposit box. It is with my important papers in the file cabinet. That's where it happens to be. Advanced directives, your living will, your wishes, your end-of-life wishes, quite often come as a surprise to your family. Little Billy says, Dad wouldn't want to live that way. Little Susie says, don't you kill my father. Okay, and it causes an enmity to exist between family members that can last forever. And then finally, the doctors who treat you at end of life are not your doctors. They don't know what you want. The doctors in the intensive care unit. So these are the problems why we have not done well with advanced directives in this country. Everyone benefits when you have an advanced directive, okay? The benefits that come to you and your family as individuals are amazing. If you're in a place where you would not want to be in an incapacitated state in an ICU for months and months on end, and this is going to cost your family a tremendous amount of money because you've capped out of insurance and all of these things, you ought to be in control. Now, in your living will, you can have anything you want. I want all medicine. I want to be kept alive until the Martians show up behind that asteroid. I hear they're coming, okay? Wasn't there that group that did that out in California? I mean, yeah, okay, they're weird, okay? But you get to stay in control. And if you don't want to be in that situation forever, you ought to be able to speak for yourself.
So where do you keep your advanced directives?
We're going to talk about that. Okay, because we don't want them to get lost. We want them to be found. And we want your families to know what your wishes are before you get to that place so you can have a conversation about this. These are the problems that we fix.
So part of my job at the university is, I work at the hospital, I do clinical ethics consultations. Part of my job is to do clinical ethics consultations, and that is to help in cases where physicians disagree, where families are disagreeing with each other. And one of the things that is worth noting about that, you can't tell that ahead of time. The families I work with, the physicians I work with, they always have the exact same view that most everybody else does, and that is, I'll leave it up to my family when this happens. I'll leave it up to my spouse when this happens. There will not be any problems at all, and it's going to go smooth as you can think. You know, everybody knows what I want. And it's hard to understand that's just not the way it actually works. In those moments of stress, trying to figure out what your loved one wants is amazingly difficult, very emotional. And so I run across families all the time, and I will say to the families, tell me about your dad. And they will talk about he was an in-control person. He knew he was sick for a long time. He told us exactly what I wanted. And then I'll say, then why can't we agree on what he would want? And these huge conflicts arise. These are conflicts, and if you don't think about the importance of advanced directives and getting this right, these are conflicts that literally destroy families. It's not that they just, it's a conflict while somebody's in the dying process. These conflicts destroy families, and destroy families emotionally and financially. And so you can't underestimate the power of that. At the same time, what we're having to fight against in making this work is that people deny they're ever going to die. People deny they're ever going to get sick. And it's, that'll happen to me someday. But right now, today, I feel just fine. I'll worry about that tomorrow. So I constantly am running into cases where somebody says, yes, Daddy wanted to have an advance directive. He had planned on doing it, but we don't. And then amazing number of times, you simply can't find it. And so I just ask you, do everybody that would be making decisions for you know where all your important papers are and can access them? And it turns out, most of us don't do that. We have a place where we keep our important papers. We just don't tell anybody about it. It gets amazingly, it's hard to underestimate just the level of conflict that can occur. And people get very upset. So remember, those of you who have interactions with medicine know this, physicians do not like conflict. They like everybody in agreement. So all it takes is one of your family members to show up and say, save my aunt, save my uncle, save my daddy, when all the rest of the family are trying to do what daddy wants, and things grind to a halt.
You want to speak to this?
Sure. So this whole idea or genesis of this project came about was actually because of the Alpha One Foundation. The Alpha One Foundation gave me a grant a few years ago to develop an idea of the power of social media and the power of video in changing how these decisions work. And so I had this idea that seeing somebody say something is a lot more powerful to address the problems with advanced directives than just seeing a written document. So think about somebody sending you a letter or somebody showing you a video clip of what they say. Seeing is believing, the power of the video. So that was the idea that maybe a video component could help enhance the problem where family members show up and say, do everything for daddy, and you could actually see a video of daddy saying what he really wanted. And so that was the genesis of this. I spent a couple years with support of the Alpha One Foundation building a prototype for the app that has now been taken a whole new life and taken way to the next step, a step that I never thought even was theoretically possible, where we now have a functional product that actually works and stores the information and allows you to send it wherever you need to send it. And Mr. Jackson will go on that. Ken Goodwin was my colleague at the University of Miami in this project. The grant was generously funded by the Alpha One Foundation. And I'll just say we came in under budget. If you think that's impossible, it actually happened. Yeah, you got that. It's like, it was cash.
So in April of 2014, I met with John Walsh, and John said, I want two things out of this. He said, I want every alpha and every carrier to have this for free. He said, the second thing I want is I want a revenue stream back to the Alpha One Foundation. So that's what we were tasked with, and both exist. So we're making this available to all of you, okay, to use for free. We sell it in the marketplace for $23.99 a year. So it's a subscription-based service. And we're going to talk about how it is things don't get lost and how it all works. And the fact that there's places in there where you can put in special instructions. You have a pulmonary issue. There are things you may or may not want at end of life. You might want to talk to your physicians about. Okay? So it's really geared toward making all of that happen. All right. 2 steps to peace of mind. Very quickly, and this application exists as an iPad and iPhone app, and the 15th of next month it gets released as a web app. Okay, so you can do it right on the internet. All right, and we fixed those 4 components. All right, first off, your advanced directive is going to be found, and we're going to talk about how that happens. You're going to be able to share your wishes with your family members ahead of time. All right, and then finally, through the power of this video enhancement, not only being able to speak to your family, but being able to speak to your doctors. And we've got lots of educational material in the application. We've got all these cool things to help you out, take you step by step, help you understand. And we are legal in all 58 states. I bet you didn't know there were 58 states. District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, Guam, I mean on and on and on, okay? We have been accepted by the Veterans Administration, and we're going to be part of the My Health eVet Veterans Patient Portal, 8.2 million vets and their spouses and dependents. Our launch client was Carolinas Healthcare, 2.4 million patients. We just got evaluated in a clinical trial at the Mayo Clinic, and they love us, and it looks like we're going to be the advanced directive product through the whole Mayo Clinic world. So we've got a real belt and suspenders, starting with the good work that Ray did, okay, a very professionally developed, rock-solid, bulletproof, lawful application to go from there. So 2 things, identify who your surrogate is and put a living will together. Very simply, using the app either on the, using your browser on your PC at home or using an iPad. Very, very quickly, select your state, identify your surrogate, who in your state might be called your medical power of attorney or your medical proxy, and you're actually using the documentation from the state. Okay, and we keep up with all of that. You can enhance this by adding your video living will. And I talked about this earlier, and we have a step-by-step prompt you through it. We've also got a free-form video living will that is extremely powerful, and it's what I promote. In mine, hey guys, it's me, Steve. I know why you're here. It's me over there. Everybody knows that quality of life meant a lot more to me than quantity of life. What I want is in my living will. My surrogate, my friend Ray, we've had a lot of conversations. Hey, family and friends, Ray's got a tough job. Get behind him and support him. Don't cause problems. Okay, he knows what I want, and he's got a tough job.
So initially, you might think making a video about this is very difficult. You can make a video in literally less than 2 minutes, the length of the video, that will have the impact of what you need to make sure your wishes are honored. It's not like a 30-minute video that has to lay out everything you could ever think of. Just literally a 2-minute video along the lines of what Steve
And
said.
I wrap mine up with, hey, docs that I don't know, thank you so much for what you've done for me, but my wishes are in my living will. And if you got a question, talk to my surrogate. And if between you can't resolve this right now, I want an ethics consult in this hospital today.
So the video is making your last will or your wishes known,
Right?
not by grandma and by Aunt Sue.
Correct.
So that's exactly, the whole point of this is, if you're the kind of person that wants to be in control of your life, we're giving you a mechanism to help make sure that happens. The traditional written living will that you have now has serious defects with it, and this product, this method, helps overcome many of those defects. You can't find it, family objections, physicians unwilling to
We'll
follow
talk
your
about
wishes.
how we specifically answer those things. It's easy to use on your laptop or on your iPad, your iPhone, coming soon to a, no, what's your silly, Android. Coming soon to an Android near you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
It's not construed as one, it is a legal document. Yes.
And within this, you've also got your electronic living will, which is a download of your state's actual forms. You're using your state's documentation, and the video supports that. The reason for the video is to tell family and friends, don't give Ray a hard time. This is what I want. Tell the doctors you don't know. Hey, docs, thanks so much for what you've done. But here's my message.
Let me explain your point, that point just a little bit more. it's very common for family members to say, I didn't know Daddy had this living will. I'm not sure it's the signature. I'm not sure it's Daddy's wishes. And so you have, especially here in Florida, we have this problem, maybe not in your state. We have that the parents retired here and everybody lives up in New York. And so they haven't really know what Dad wants. And so that bridges that gap of, you can show, here's the video, oh yes, it's serious, they really wanted this. You can't underestimate actually the power of that in enhancing your written wishes.
Now, how do we find it? One of the many things we do, a lot of neat little tactical things to help this work, is once you've completed these, creating your living will and your surrogate assignment, you get to print a nice little wallet card that's got a QR code on it. Now, we brand this with both us at Honor My Decisions, but also we work with a hospital, we put their branding. When you go in the hospital and they find this, just stick it in there behind your health insurance card, okay? And they scan this, or they pull up that URL at the bottom. They have access to these assets that you've left. So you go in the hospital, even if you can't speak, they're going through your wallet. They want to find out who you are. We come right up with, look at that, advanced directive information, scan this QR code, your emergency contacts, your living will, your surrogate assignment, your video message to family, friends, and the doctors, right there. It will not get lost. It will be found. And you get to share this ahead of time. Down in, on the screen itself, on the screen before this lower right image, it says share. You get to put in somebody's name and email address and select what you want them to see. We send them a link. All of this is stored at a HIPAA-compliant facility, okay, under big-time security, the whole bit. And that person who gets this link can look at your advance directive, can look at your video. Oh, that's what Mom wants. That's what Dad wants. And we want to start that conversation before you are incapacitated and can't speak for yourself.
Yeah, and that's a read-only version they can see. They can't change that. So think about this for a second. I'm presuming you have a written living will. And think about how you tell your friends and family, the people that are important to you, how you tell them about that. So when do you get your whole family together? Thanksgiving or Christmas. So you're at Christmas dinner and you want to say, here's this living will. That's not the way it works. People tend not to share it. And so what happens is the patient, you're in the hospital, you're now incapacitated, and that's the first time people find out that you had a living will or know any of the details of it. So this is an easy way to just send it to them. You don't have to engage in a long conversation with somebody. You don't have to explain it. You just send it to them. They now have it. So now it's not a surprise to them if something does happen to you.
The other thing we do is if you've had an attorney draw up an estate plan for you and they've already created a living will for you, you not only can download the forms right into the thing like I talked about, you actually can select another option and you can use your iPad or your iPhone and take a picture page by page by page. That gets uploaded. That gets found because of the QR code card. So if you've already worked up something very specific with an attorney, we accommodate that as well. Okay?
So the upshot of this app is that it's incredibly flexible. You can do things in multiple ways. You can just take a picture of it. It turns it into a PDF. You've got it there. It's now you can find it when you want to. You can create your own. You can add a video to any other of those components. So the whole thing is set up to give you flexibility, but to enhance the chances of your wishes being honored and you maintaining your control over what you want and don't want.
We are doing this in conjunction with the Alpha 1 Patient Registry, and they're almost ready for us. We're ready for them. So somewhere about the 15th of July, you're going to be getting a message through the organization that this is up and ready for you to go. And you'll get a certain little code that when you go online, you put it in. Like I said, it's not going to cost you a penny. Yes, ma'am. Okay? We want to encourage people to join the patient registry. Okay? And with the other thing we've done, a couple of the handouts we passed you, we've given you a little page here with a little coupon you can tie it. Actually, it's kind of sizable. If you've got a friend, if you've got a family member who is not an alpha or is not a carrier, just the fact that they know you, if they log into our system and use that code, they'll get a 10% discount. Okay? So, it's real simple. You're going to subscribe. You're going to put together your plan and share this with, and we've got directions in front of you, and it works really well.
Just to kind of note, Steve, this is not once and done. You can modify it at any time. You can add. You can add to your. You can change your surrogate. You can add a backup surrogate. You can add to your emergency contacts. This is a living document in the sense that you can modify it whenever you need to modify it.
Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Not forever. You're in it forever.
Yeah, you look at it as many times as you want to. Send it to as many people as you want to. Once you're a subscriber, this is yours.
Yes, sir.
Is there a provision that the husband and wife can do this as a joint in one situation, one thing?
No, unfortunately, in your state, an advance directive is applied to one specific individual. Yeah. It's,
Say I can put my name and my wife's name on the same one.
right, and what happens is, in the state of Utah, we understand you've got to do that twice. Right. Okay. So we're very lawful. We want to make sure that this always holds up. Okay. Make it work. All right. We have something we'd like to ask of all of you. We are a commercial business. A very significant portion of our profits comes back to the Alpha One Foundation. This is an amazing employee benefit. We go into major employers and show them who are self-insured for health care. Here's what you're spending on health care and for unwanted medical care. We have their ERISA data. Here's what you would have spent if your people had been on Honor My Decisions. So any of you that are still in the workforce or spouses that still are, we would love an introduction to an HR department. They love us, okay? Where have you been? All right, it's just been huge for us. And it's going very, very well as far as getting in front of HR organizations. The second thing is, please talk to your family and friends. Talk it up. Tell them about this. We want this to be really, really successful. John Walsh had two things when he hammered me about this. I've known John for 20 years, and I did a lot of negotiating for the Alpha One Foundation. He confronted me at 7 a.m. on a beach, April of 2014, and said, here's what I want. And it was through a grant with Ray's organization. And I said, John, it's not going to work extending the grant. Well, what do? We have to build a business. Well, he and I both put money into it, and we put about $1 million into getting things going. And the deal was, he said, I want every Alpha, okay, to have this for free. In working with AB, we extended that not just to Alphas, but also to the carriers. Okay, and we also want to use this as an inducement to get as many people into the patient registry as possible. That's really important. Okay, so this is an ongoing, ever-growing annuity back to this organization. And it's doing something good for employers, it's doing something good for you, and it lets you stay in control and lets you do what you want to do. Ray's job, and he kind of soft sells it, he's got a tough job. He gets airdropped into places where families are fighting. I mean, and it's not pretty. And he's got to settle this stuff. And the stories he has told me over time about what happens, we don't want that to happen. We want families to not cause problems that will break them apart forever.
So that little card that you said.
Yes, ma'am.
Code or whatever.
Uh-huh.
You just give the hospital that, and you go for a visit.
You check in, they say, do you have an advance directive? Here it is. And with that, they can actually download. There it is. Now,
one of the problems that actually exists now, every hospital is pushing advanced directives for their clients. And so they would like to get it in the medical record. The problem with that is once it's in the medical record, you don't change it. So if you want to change it, this is the way to change it. So you want to be able to give it, the hospital accesses it when it's needed, not before it's needed.
and if you make a change to it, you know those people we talked about you sharing your wishes with? They all get an email message. Okay, a change has been made. Please go look.
So the hospital would also get an email?
Only if you were sharing with them.
Okay.
You'd have to set them up as a share, right?
They brought it up, they changed
It would all be there. The most recent would be there. Absolutely. I've had people say, well, what if I lose my wallet? I said, well, if you lose your wallet, first call Visa and MasterCard. Start there. Then you contact us, 800 number, we'll change your password. The worst somebody's going to see is that you have a living will. Okay? I mean, that's really it. Okay? But stick it right in your wallet, right behind your medical insurance card. And if you find yourself incapacitated in the hospital and they go through your wallet, there it is. It says emergency contacts, advanced directives, scan here. And they all can do that. Hospitals admit people now with iPads. Yeah.
We're very pay a lot of attention to confidentiality and privacy of your information. But the reality is you really want as many people that are your friends and families to have your access to your living will. It's not the kind of thing that has your bank account information on it. It's the kind of thing that helps enhance you. They can have access to it, but they can't change it. So we really want you to send it and give it out to everybody that could be materially affected by your end-of-life wishes. And that's really the goal, and to get it as broadly distributed as possible.
Ray is my surrogate, and he is anxious to get there and tell them that, nope, it's over for Steve. Yes. Yes. Wow. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Uh-huh.
So I understand that you can modify and make the changes, but is there any notification maybe that is in the program where it would notify people, hey, it's been about a year, do you want to relook at this and make sure your information in there?
Here's what we do. We start people very simply. If all you do today is open the account and identify a surrogate, you've done so much. And you'll be able to have the QR code card and everything. We start sending you very gently some email with some educational material. Hey, it's time for you to complete the living will component. Have you done a video? Here's some sample videos. We've actually filmed on site at Carolinas Healthcare with their palliative care physicians, their actual docs, and their pastoral care teams. Here are the things that you might want to talk about. Several of the ladies will tell me, my hair's not nice enough today to do my video. My first thought is, your hair looks fantastic right now compared to how it might look if you were laying there in the gurney. Okay, so go for it. But we don't look at your things, which you've specifically done, but we do note that, hey, you need to have a video, and we try to just gently send you some informational materials.
And I guess if I had done that, and let's say I did that 20 years ago,
Right.
obviously things have changed.
We're going.
So is there, I guess that's my
As new things happen in advanced directives, we're going to let you know changes in law. Like one of the things we're struggling with now is people having advanced directives based on dementia issues. Okay.
But if your question,
That's all
an
new.
advanced directive never expires. It doesn't go out of date. You may change your views, and it's up to you to to record those, but it doesn't expire. So if you have, we see advanced directives that are 10 or 15 years old, and they're valid.
We'll communicate with you. We won't spam you. But hey, some things have happened. You might want to consider this. And when you make changes, we will notify the people that you shared with to come have a look. Okay?
If somebody makes a mistake and does two advanced directives, the latest one,
Most recent date, that's the one that counts. Right? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So, are you suggesting that possibility that the organization might offer this to their employees?
That's exactly what happens. Okay. We show them the financial benefit of reducing healthcare cost. And we actually take their ERISA data in. And sit down and have a conversation. HR benefits people love us because they're getting hammered. How do we reduce healthcare cost? And so we use, here's your data, here's what we do, and they pay for it. And now, we're launching a program with AB where going out through large corporations, through the Alpha One Foundation, not only are they an investor and make money, but they're going to be a channel partner. And if we dealt with one of the organizations you're describing through the Alpha One Foundation, there's an annuity that is a recurring, ever-growing number there too. So they're making a contribution to a good organization.
Just a little bit further explanation on how it reduces healthcare costs. Those of us who've not been around hospitals or been around the healthcare system or in hospitals, this will not in any way prevent you from getting care you want or that you need or that's of benefit. A big chunk of the healthcare expenditures are for care, is actually for care people do not want and offers no significant benefit. It doesn't keep you alive longer, it doesn't reduce your pain, it doesn't do anything. It's just stuff that's done unless you say no. And so that's the healthcare. If you look at a system-wide thing, we're talking $300 or $400 billion a year on care that people do not want and does not benefit. So that's the healthcare cost financial part. of it.
And that healthcare happens because the doctors are obligated to do certain things unless we tell them not to.
And
That's
they're operating without direction. You're unconscious. They're just doing.
So if a physician doesn't know what your wishes are, they will essentially do whatever they think can possibly be done, both to prevent liability on their part, but also because they don't know what your wishes are, and the default is to do everything they can think of unless they know you don't want it. So that's really the importance of that. I'll also add that in the clinical work I see that there's a fair amount of times that someone is kept going when they really don't know, but they're in a fair amount of pain and agony that we have to keep doing stuff too. So it's my view of this. I'm glad about the financial stuff, but there's some situations I don't want to be kept going in that I'm not going to get any benefit, and I don't want to suffer from that.
When you cap out in your insurance, when insurance stops paying, you have a maximum lifetime benefit. Those healthcare providers will come after your estate. We talk to hospital administrators who are taking people's homes, and they don't want to do that.
I just finished dealing with a case where a patient was kept in the ICU for almost 80 days, and it was clear they had an advance directive, didn't want it. The bill the family got was $2.8 million.
Yes, sir?
The only point of my raising my hand is that there aren't any lifetime benefit maximums.
Right. Right.
There are many concerns, including a huge financial, I don't mean to.
There's other organizations that step in. We still see, for example, union plans where that's the end of it, and then you Medicare and Medicaid and those things happen. It's a mess. Yes, sir? Yes, ma'am? Are we what?
Are you in Canada yet?
Very close. Very close. Canada and we're working with Microsoft's HR department, and they want us in India. Microsoft has a lot of employees in India. And so we're now, oh my goodness. Yep, we got to go.
Gentlemen, we're out of time.
Thank you.